Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to be doing something different. I know I do a lot of Dead by Daylight content, but today we're going to be ranking superpowers. The only stipulation is you cannot have more than one. We're going to be super realistic. Let's get right into it. So our first superpower is going to be laser vision. There's different kind of laser vision you could choose from Cyclops to Superman. If you have Superman's laser vision, you could pretty much use it whenever you want, and there's like really no limitations to it besides it just goes in a straight line. Or you could have Cyclops laser vision, which is active at all times, and you have to wear some weird headgear to control it. And if you don't, everyone you would look at will just be incinerated. So that really sucks. So it could either be awesome or trash. And I almost forgot, there's another laser vision from Darkseid, which he could control his lasers, and that's actually pretty dope. So that would even make it into goated, like better than Superman's laser vision. But because it's not concise and there's so many different variations of laser vision, I can't put it in goated and I can't put it in trash. So I'm just gonna put into it, is it worth it? Because if you can't choose what kind of laser vision you have and you're just like up to the gods, right, to decide, you could be left with a crutch, or you're pretty much crippled to wear glasses for your entire life, right? Or you could use it whenever you want and just choose where you want it to go, which is actually pretty dope. But I can't, just because you can't decide, I can't put it anywhere above is it worth it. All right, so that's where laser vision is gonna go. Next, we're gonna do super speed. Now, super speed, it sounds cool, and I loved super speed when I was growing up. But the truth about super speed is you have to have super endurance as well, because, and not even that, you have to have super strength, because how are you gonna run at super speeds without messing up your own body or tearing off your own clothes? Let's just say let's just say that when you run, all those G forces on your body doesn't affect you, right? Let's just say, for example, that happens. If you was to come in contact with anything else, your it would literally rip off that part of your body. It would go through you. If there was a penny that was in that was just floating in the sky and you ran through it, you would pop like a balloon. If you was running at Mach speeds, I forgot what the name of it's called, but the force that you're hitting something with is also hitting you with that same amount of force. And if you don't have super strength, you're done for. I mean, you pretty much just lost that limb, or if it hit you in a vital part of your body, you're pretty much dead. So you'd have to be super cautious of where you're going. And not only that, you have to have like super cognitive thinking and reaction time, which is also a superpower in itself, because that doesn't necessarily relate to super speed, right? Being quick doesn't mean you're quick thinking as well. So that's the truth about super speed. Now it looks cool, like the Flash. That's a whole different kind of like super speed, because he has the speed force, and it's just so many different things going on with the Flash that's not just super speed. So I can't justify putting it anywhere more than is it worth it. If you was to ever collide with something, if you was to ever run into somebody, it would be more like A-Train from The Boys, right? For example, if you was to run into somebody in the middle of the street, they would explode, and most likely you would be very injured as well. So I can't justify, even though I do love super speed as a concept, I can't justify putting it more than is it worth it. Because is it really worth it having super speed if you can't touch anything? If you don't have super strength, super durability, you're pretty much toast, right? All you could do is zip around, not touch a blade of grass, right? Or else you're pretty much toast. Next, we're going to move on to immortality. Now, immortality is one of the good things. I mean, it's already going to be above meh, right? Average. Just for the simple fact that you're gonna live forever, but it does come with a lot of consequences. Now, there's different kinds of immortality. For one, you could have immortality from regeneration. So, for example, it could be like Wolverine, where every time he gets injured, his cells just regenerate, but he still grows old, so he could die eventually. But he just won't die from outside factors. Or it could be like Deadpool. It's pretty much like undead because his cells are pretty much dead. It's just replacing it with more undead cells, which he's pretty much in a constant state of death. Like he can't die because his body is technically already dead. So I'm pretty sure he can't even die from old age. And the immortality with eternal life, where you can't die from old age or outside factors, you're pretty much watching all your loved ones die, and it'll pretty much become like a lifeless existence, because if you ever make any true connections with somebody, you're gonna be forced to watch them pass on. So it'll be like endless torture for yourself if that's something that you care about. But I can't justify putting it anywhere under meh, because immortality as a power alone, immortality with like Wolverine's immortality or Deadpool's immortality is pretty cool, even though Deadpool could really survive for actually a very long time. But since this is my tier list, I'm gonna put it at meh just for those reasons I named earlier, because I wouldn't want to watch all my loved ones pass on without me. Next, we're gonna move on to super strength. So super strength is, ironically, is actually pretty weak if you don't pair it with super durability. You could be as strong as you want, but who brings fists to a gunfight, right? Hear me out. If someone's 10 feet away from you with a gun and you have super strength, you're not getting to them fast enough to use your super strength. You're not gonna be faster than a bullet. It's not gonna bounce off you like Superman, right? It's gonna go straight through you like it would any other person. And even forget about combat. Imagine having like a relative come to you and give you a hug. If this power was just thrusted upon you today, if you was to hug them back, you would have no idea how to control your powers. I mean, you're not growing up with this kind of power. If it was just thrusted upon you today, you would most likely kill that person just because you don't know the full extent of your power. And just everyday regular stuff, how are you going to open a door without tossing that across the street, right? Or breaking it in half? These are real weird things you got to think of about super strength. Like, it's going to be really fun in the beginning having so much power, but it's going to get old quick. Because how are you going to have any relationships when every single move you do could potentially kill somebody, right? Like, you're not Superman, you're not Homelander, where you grew up with this and you know how to use it. Well, even Homelander, he just kills people by accident sometimes, right? Most of the time it's on purpose, but he does do it by accident sometimes. Everybody in that show pretty much does it by accident because they all have some kind of form of super strength. So imagine you having Superman level strength trying to be with a girl. So that's some stuff you got to think about before really getting into super strength. So just for those reasons, I'm gonna have to put it at meh, right? Super strength is actually it's pretty cool to think about. When you put it into real life, it has so many drawbacks and consequences that you cannot overlook. And this is when we get into mind control. Now, mind control has almost no drawbacks. Being able to control somebody's mind, or maybe even be able to put thoughts in somebody's mind like Inception, that would actually be really cool. I don't see any issues with mind control. And if you're able to actually just control somebody and to force them to do whatever you want, who's gonna stop you? I mean, realistically, who's gonna stop you? Maybe somebody putting some tinfoil over their head, right, might get over that mind control. But if you got this power thrusted upon you and you played around with it a little bit, I think for the most part you would not want everybody to know this. So you could use it so strategically. You could be the best politician ever, right? You could have so many people following your lead. You could be like a cult leader with this kind of power. I mean, you could be, I don't want to go as far as saying Jesus, but you could make anybody do anything that you want. I would have to put it in goaded. I mean, this is just a goaded power with almost no drawbacks. There's actually little people could do about this power that you have, right? Next, we're gonna go into teleportation. Now, teleportation is different kind of teleportation. You do have to have like all seeing eyes, right? To know where you're teleporting. And if you don't know where you're teleporting, you have to, you know, figure out the right X and Y axis so you don't just teleport in between a rock or like in the middle of a table, right? And unless when you teleport into something, you cut out that version of you into whatever you're teleporting, so it's not just ripping you in half or just killing you right there. It's kind of mid because you'd have to know exactly where you're teleporting and the right level, sea level you're teleporting to, right? If you catch my drift here. So you do have to have a lot more than just teleportation. And what kind of teleportation is it, right? Is it like short form teleportation or is it like across the world teleportation? But to be honest, either way, this is going to go into the awesome category because even if I could teleport across the street, it's an awesome power, all right? Even if I can only teleport where I'm looking, it's awesome, right? You could do so many things with this. If someone opens a bank vault, right? If you're in a bank and someone's opening it slightly, if you look through that and peek through it, you could teleport in there. Hopefully you remember how to, like where you were before, so you could teleport out. Goated, right? But there is some limitations to this power, so I can't put it all the way in gold next to mind control, which has almost little to no drawbacks. So I had to put it in the awesome tier. Alright, so next we're gonna go into invisibility. Now invisibility has only a few, like truly only has a few good uses. If you're running away from something, you want to hide from somebody, it might be good. But even then, you're probably gonna have to be naked. I mean, your clothes is not attached to your body, so you're gonna have to strip naked. Say you're running away from somebody, and you have the invisibility. You'll have to take a minute just to get naked in order to hide fully. And God forbid you wear glasses or contacts, right? Hopefully you wear contacts, but God forbid you have glasses on and you can't see without them. You're toast. I mean, at that point you'll just be floating glasses, walking around, strolling the city, right? And let's just talk about how weak this power truly is. I mean, you don't have any strength besides hiding and or recon. I mean, I guess this ability would be really good if you want to learn something about somebody. It would be really good for, like, you know, investigations. But other than that, it has no other benefits. But for me personally, I can't put it any higher than is it worth it? Right? Because for me personally, I wouldn't know what I would do with it. I'm not a government agent, right? Trying to find some secret top tech information, right, from somebody. I'm not trying to stalk people in their home, right? So for me, it's gonna have to go, is it worth it? Next, we're gonna go into time travel. Now, time travel could be one of the strongest, but at the same time, also one of the most deadliest powers you could ever have. Because if you ever heard of the butterfly effect, one small change could literally rewrite all of history, and most likely will. If you're thinking that all our life is linear and it doesn't separate into like different branches, so like unlimited multiverses and stuff like that. But then if you was to do that, if you was to go back in time and change anything about the past and go into the future, would you be going into a future from a different universe because the one that you was at just now no longer exists because you just changed something from the past that wasn't there? So going into the past is such a tricky situation because we don't yet fully grasp what it means to go into the past and have something changed. We just have like, everybody has like their own interpretation of it. But besides that, going into the future would only have upside. I mean, you could go into the future and then come back to your own reality because you didn't change anything before then. So you would still be in your same timeline, and then go back and say, for example, win the lottery, right? You would change your timeline moving forward. So you would still be there. You would just be changing the direction of your own universe, in my opinion, right? I don't think that would create, it would create another branch from that moment on. So you would still be there physically, but who really understands and grasps this kind of level of power here? I mean, this is some fourth dimensional power. But if it's what I think it is, I can't put it any higher or lower than awesome. I mean, this is like an awesome power. Even if going back in time, like say I have the power to go back in time. If I had it, I wouldn't do it, just for the simple fact that if I go back in time, I change something, I wouldn't be here today. But or it could be like the flashes, the reverse flash kind of power, where you're living on a timeless field, right? So since you have the power to traverse through time, which would pretty much mean traversing through different universes, right? Because every small change you make should create another branch of universe. You're just living in a untouchable field, right? Where time doesn't affect you, but you can affect time. It's like you're living outside of the box and you're moving the toys around, making all the decisions, but you yourself aren't affected, right? Which then makes you pretty much a god. Next, we're going to move into stopping time, right? There's different ways to stop time, but in my opinion, if you was to stop time, you're not only stopping the physical people that's around you, but you're also stopping the oxygen, you're stopping the water, and you're stopping anything that's happening. So if someone threw a brick in the air, it would just be paused there. You would have to learn how to hold your breath for as long as you need, whatever the case may be, for this to work, because oxygen would not be flowing, right? Unless you want to be one of those people where everything starts moving or everything just works when it reaches you. Like if you're touching something, if you touch somebody, then they're not affected by this time stop. But then if that's the case, you're always touching the ground, right? So whatever you're stepping on, you know what? Let's not even get that deep into it. The point is, stopping time would stop every molecule around you, which would leave you with about a minute to 4 minutes max. I don't know how long someone has been able to hold their breath. I mean, I'm pretty sure that max is like around 8 minutes or something crazy like that, right? Which I can never do. But at that point, it would be that guy from the Ginyu Force, where he could hold his breath, right? And then he could just play around with whatever's around him. And then when he lets go of his breath, everything comes back to normal. Which I feel like that's more of what it would actually be like in reality. So for those reasons, I have to put it in awesome, all right? Even with that limitation, this is such an awesome power, because if I don't like something, I could just hold my breath and just move everything around, like how the Flash does when he goes, in super speed, and just put it to my liking, right? Or I could just exit a situation, and then when I let go of my breath, they'll think I just teleported, right? Which is actually another version of teleportation when you really think about it. Because if all time stops, and I walk from one location to another, when time unpauses, it'll be like I just teleported there, right? So you could do this with, you could actually do a lot of things with this power. You could steal whatever you want, right? If someone opens their door, you could just hold your breath, go in there, take whatever you want. Or a bank vault. Ooh, I like those bank vaults. All right, so let's leave that at awesome. That's a good place to put it. Actually, I changed my mind. It has to go in goated. Even with that limitation, you could learn to hold your breath for as long as you want, right? Maybe like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, which is pretty tough in my opinion. But if you imagine all these things you could do in 5 minutes. The next power we're gonna talk about is gonna be breathing underwater. Now this power, I believe truly is underrated because you could pretty much be like some Michael Phelps, right? Type situation where, or you could be like a circus act where you could just stay in the water for any human's amount of time and no one can understand why. Obviously, you wouldn't want to give yourself away. Now, if there's something that you have to have gills for, I would have to rank it lower than where it would be. Now, to realistically breathe in the water, you would have to have some kind of filter device like gills. And if we're talking about realistic, there's no way you could do that with your nose, right? You'd have to have gills somewhere on your body, like the deep from the boys, right? But nonetheless, it would still be a cool power that you could use for your advantage. Maybe you go underwater in the sea, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all the sea creatures are gonna fuck with you, because just because you could breathe underwater doesn't mean everything's gonna like you. I mean, fish get eaten all the time by sharks, killer whales, and all that. So if you're in the ocean, just because you could just swim there and be there forever, pretty much, right? Indefinitely, obviously, getting to eat or whatever is the case may be. You're chilling in the ocean because the water doesn't affect you. You still have other environmental problems that you have to deal with, and that's gonna be one of your main problems. I mean, if you want to be in the pool just sitting down all the way in the bottom of the pool for like an hour, that's cool. But this power has a lot of pros, but also if it's not paired with other powers, for example, like fish control or water manipulation, it's not really much you can do about it besides be like a circus act or something, right? Which I wouldn't want to be, but you could probably make a lot of money doing it, right? So I'm gonna put it in meh, just for the simple fact that it's not really good, but it's not really bad. I mean, you could breathe in the water, but you're not gonna swim any faster, right? You're not gonna talk to fish. You're not the king of the ocean or something here. You're not gonna water bend like it's our now. So, we're gonna leave it right there. Next, we're gonna talk about elemental powers. So, earth, fire, air, and water. For example, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you was to have any one of these powers, you would automatically be in the goated tier. The only one I would say is a little iffy might be fire, because you might be able to hurt yourself with the fire you control, and you might not even be able to create your own fire. You would have to take fire from other external sources, which is still a pretty cool thing. But just really quickly, I don't think there's any drawbacks to having any elemental powers, so I'm gonna have to put this power in the goated tier. All right, so we're gonna move on to flight. Now this one's gonna shock you guys probably a lot, for the simple fact that flight as just a power by itself, a base power, is pretty trash, right? Because you're moving really fast, and if everybody's seeing you do that realistically, you're fucked, right? I mean, I'm living in the US. If I was just to start flying in the sky, I would get shot down by God knows what many things, they got going on here. They would not like that. The Air Force is pretty tight knit. And not only that, there would be a level of height that I could go before I just start losing oxygen, right? Getting extremely cold and passing out. Like, you see how Iron Man went really high when he first got his suit. His whole entire suit turned into ice. That's what would happen to you, but on your body, right? So you don't have anything protecting you like a plane does. You're in something that's protecting you from all the force. And one other problem with flight is that you're not super strong, you're not super durable. So if you was to fly at any fast speed and you was to hit anything, you would probably just die. I mean, planes, right? Aircrafts built by extremely intelligent, crafty engineers break down after hitting one bird. If one bird goes in the engine, the plane is pretty much unusable. It's gonna be the same for you, right? If you get hit or if you fly into a bird, the impact of that will be like a a boulder hitting you probably. And not only that, but also if you're flying into a cloud, clouds are not fun. Like it might look cool, but if you flying through a cloud, it's gonna feel like getting hit by a bunch of ice shards, right? Just scraping your body. Ask any skydiving person that ever been through that. They'll tell you that it's not pleasant to go through a cloud. It might look cool, but it's not pleasant at all. And just because of all those limitations that I have and all the weaknesses that you have when you're flying, I can't justify putting it anywhere besides trash. I mean, flight might seem cool, but if you use it at all, you're not gonna have a very pleasant life, right? Someone's gonna catch you. You're not super strong, you're not super fast, right? You could just fly. I mean, it's gonna be hard for someone to catch you, but then again, there's automatic weapons trained to catch flying objects, and you're not the one, buddy. You're gonna get caught. Trust me. Our next superpower we're gonna talk about is super intelligence. Now, this might not even be a superpower, really. I mean, it could be. There's some really intelligent people out here that might seem, ultra intelligent, but there's a study that talks about how your intelligence level contributes to like physical illnesses that you may have, or even depression as well, right? Like when you're really smart, you start to understand that so many things are out of your control, and all the problems that we have in the world and all that becomes super clear to you, right? I forgot what the term is, but it might be like bliss or ignorance is bliss, because when you're not really aware, it doesn't really affect you that much. But if you're super intelligent, you're going to be affected by all these types of things that are just out of your control, that you have no power over. There's been a lot of research about intelligence and how it's linked to stress and anxiety. But let's say you're one of the few people that actually understand how to control this. You would probably be the most successful person out here. I mean, you could predict the future in ways that most people wouldn't be able to, just because you could just see the trajectory of what things are going. Um, but also, let's keep in mind that your perception of the world is based on how you view it, right? So if you have a really high perception and you understand everything about the world, let's say you understand everything that you come in contact with just because you're super intelligent for it, right? You have a deep understanding of things. You'll probably be really upset. You probably wouldn't even want to eat animals anymore. I mean, probably not, because you understand what that means, where it's coming from, and all the things that go into doing something like that, right? You would have like an exhausted mind at all times because you wouldn't be able to shut it off, right? If you're really intelligent, you can't be normal again, right? You'll think like that all the time. So and you'll probably even be like an asshole to some people, because at that point you'll believe that emotions are irrelevant, right? If you're The smarter you are, the less emotions are relevant to your life, because it doesn't matter, right? Most things don't matter in the world. We create things in the world that we try to give importance to, but if you're really intelligent, if you're super smart, you'll look past that and see the true importance of things, right? And you'll start categorizing everything in your life. What if you say that, oh, well, this person's gonna die anyways, so what's the point, right? That might be something that you realize after, becoming super smart, and that sucks, right? So there's like a lot of ways you could go with super intelligence, right? You could either be really successful, really depressed and anxious, or just an insufferable asshole, right? So I'm gonna put this power at meh, just because there's so many different ways you could go, and you actually have no control over this. Like once you get this super intelligence, your mind will take you wherever it deems to be right. And you're not gonna have any really control over this kind of power at all. Now, the last power we're gonna talk about is telepathy. Now, this is some Xavier X-Men type of shit, right? I mean, this power is actually pretty cool, just for the simple fact that you could read other people's minds. Maybe you could read the people in your vicinity's mind, or the entire world all at once, which would be like overload. It would be too much overload for your mind. But let's just say it could just be the people in the room or the people that you're in contact with. You could read their mind or communicate with them through your own mind, right? That would be super dope. Your biggest drawback would be that you can't turn it off. There's so many there's so many advantages to this one power. It's kind of like mind control, but in a different way. You could pretty much blackmail, manipulate somebody, just by understanding what they want, how they're thinking, right? You could be the best politician. You could be the best person in the room, the smartest, the funniest, the most attractive person if you know what somebody wants, right? With this power, you will always know what somebody wants without having to control them like mind control. This is also going to put you in cult status just because you're going to know exactly what they want, when they want it, how they want it, what they want done, what's the best way to get what you want is going to be through this, So because I can't really think of any negatives besides not having to turn it off, and also maybe listening to everybody all at once, you can't choose who you want to read. I'm gonna have to put it in golden because this power has little to no drawbacks. Even with those limitations on it, it's still really powerful. I mean, you're gonna have to sleep with a bunch of people talking in your head, but who doesn't do that already, right? But that's gonna be it for today, guys. If you have any objections or any reasons why any of these powers should be placed at a different rank, let me know down in the comment section below. I'm recording this video. We're almost at 200 subscribers. I have currently 192 subscribers. We're so close. Please, for me, like, subscribe, comment on the videos, turn on the notification bells, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.